Hey folks, David here, TexasHornsFans.com. We got Texas 27, Baylor 16, back in the win column, 3-2. Still needing a lot to happen in the conference, but hey, great to get back into the win column. Definitely, without question, should have beaten Baylor. This game could have definitely been a wider margin of victory, but hey, at the end of the day, still a dub. So. Don't forget to give the video a like. We'll look at some key points and also look at some about 4 pretty interesting plays I thought made a big difference in this game. Definitely don't forget to leave your comments below. All right, so overall, my kind of thoughts of this game heading into it were obviously you have zero excuse. You have to beat a Baylor team at home that a Baylor team that has only played a couple of games and that has had an incredible amount of disruptions, not only for games but practices as well. Just a credible amount of inconsistencies just because of virus outbreaks and whatever of that may be, their fault for mishandling it doesn't matter. Okay, what matters is what Texas had to control, coming off of back-to-back losses against TCU and the Land Thieves. So, you absolutely want to get back on track, especially the game in between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. So, definitely a slow start, no question about that. Allowed Baylor to get on the board with a field goal. Texas then kicks 2 field goals, doesn't score a touchdown until about 2 minutes to go in the first half. So no question about it, a definite slow start. And just kind of looking back at what this offense has done up to this point, with all the points scored against UTEP, Oklahoma in a 4-overtime game, and then going into overtime against Texas Tech, yeah, this offense has scored a lot of points. It's had to score a lot of points. So the story in this game is the inconsistency flipped on its head, where you had a good defensive showing and an offensive showing that just wasn't able to put up big gains or get into the end zone enough early. And, so kind of looking at it that way, I think everybody wanted to see the offense jump out ahead and score some points early. The defense, to their credit, I think they allowed some drives, and they allowed Baylor to pick up some first downs that was really frustrating to see, but they kept them out of the end zone for 3 quarters. Even remember Baylor's second touchdown came after Sam's interception, where one of the Baylor defensive backs was going in to intercept the ball. It bounced off of him and into the hands of another Baylor defender, and so that set them up in great field position. So they got 2 touchdowns pretty quickly in the fourth quarter, and then Texas, essentially to put the game away, Cade Brewer gets a first down and chooses to basically slide and take himself down, where Texas absolutely at least could have kicked a field goal, probably would have scored a touchdown to score 34 points or at least 30 points. So that's where I'm saying that this game definitely could have been a wider margin of victory. Okay, against Baylor, you definitely want to score into the 30s, I think. Baylor's got decent offensive weapons. Their offensive line did not look good at all. I thought Texas dominated the line of. I thought the Texas defense dominated the line of scrimmage really well. On the flip side of that, the Texas offensive line, I think, did a better job of run blocking. They did a pretty good job of protecting Sam. There was one really bad play that we'll look at here in a second, and especially by Sam Cosmi, who gave up a sack. But thinking about the run blocking and the run game, I was really hoping to see the Texas coaches by now, by the fifth game of the season, allow one of the running backs to just stay in there and build some momentum. I don't care if it's Ingram or Roshan or Bijan. Give one guy a chance to build some momentums, to build his confidence. I just want to see them allowed to do that. And I do think we obviously saw a lot more running in this game, which I absolutely loved. That's what Tom Herman said the game plan was, to establish a run and then stop the run. Sam only threw, I believe, I didn't look at the exact stats, but this was Sam's fewest completions, fewest throws, which is perfectly fine with me. I would love to see Sam only throw the ball a maximum of 30 to 32 times a game, given that he's going to complete, maybe 18 to 20 of those. So in a good scenario. But I would just really like to see one of these running backs allowed to step up and take control of a game. I think we're seeing more from Bijan Robinson. I seem to be noticing these little kind of nuances that just really make me like, wow, that's special. Whether it's his acceleration, whether it's his start-stop ability. I've seen a few times now him just stab his leg into the ground and stop and get started again while everybody else looks like they're frozen in the Matrix for about a second. And that's really special. Go back and look at some of those runs that he's had. I think what we're seeing is his confidence building in his timing of when he needs to hit the hole and when he needs to really turn it on. I think earlier on in the season, when he got the few touches that he did, I thought we were seeing him kind of miss time things where running backs have to trust their linemen, that they have to trust that those blocks are going to be there, or that they're going to open up in the half second before he sees it. So I thought that was cool to see. Hopefully we see more and more of him, because I do think that he could be the consistent weapon. We've seen a lot of inconsistencies, unfortunately, from injuries, from Jordan Whittington, Jake Smith, even Roshan. So, whereas in the past 2 years, we've seen the H wide receiver position, the slot position, be the number one weapon on the offense with L.J. Humphrey 2 years ago and then Devin Duvernay last year. And this year, it's just been a bag of inconsistencies. And I think that's hurt Sam a little bit. I think he always had that confidence that LJ or Devin would be there as the option. And this year, it's just been like, is it going to be Jordan? Is it going to be Jake? Is it going to be Brennan Schooler, who's only been with the program for a couple of months, at all? So, I think others have stepped up, like Josh Moore has done a phenomenal job of stepping up and being the number one receiver on the outside. So, a few plays that kind of stood out to me. One, I believe it was in the second quarter, where Sam took that big sack, but it was an interesting kind of development that we don't normally see, where one of Baylor's defensive ends, he comes in and attacks Cosmi from his inside shoulder, and the linebacker lined up in the gap on that side blitzes, kind of a delayed blitz. And Junior Angular does a great job of picking up the inside threat, which is the blitzing linebacker, But Sam Cosmi, uncharacteristically, does a horrible job of letting that defensive end kind of give him a punch that looked like it sent him off balance. And the defensive end is the one that forced Sam to roll out and eventually made that tackle. But during that play, Tariq Black kind of runs this route in the middle where that was wide open. It looked like Sam was kind of eyeballing the right side of the route where Josh Moore was and I think Cade Brewer. But they were pretty much covered. But Tariq Black was wide open in the middle, but instead Sam takes a really big sack to set Texas up, I think at like their own 7-yard line. And so big bad plays there by Sam Cosmi and Sam Ehlinger, right? The two guys that on offense that you think are going to make the best decisions, okay? But both Sams on that one play kind of combined to make bad plays, bad decisions. But right after that, I believe the very next play is when Ehlinger hits Tariq Black on a long gain. So I think that play resulted in a field goal eventually. But Tariq Black essentially kind of comes inside and just gets behind everyone and ends up having the Baylor defensive backfield chasing after him. But that was a great job and great by Sam seeing it. A couple of other plays that stood out to me was before Josh Moore's touchdown, I think a couple of plays before that, he made a great play on the sideline where he high points the ball and goes up and gets it at its highest point. And we've seen this a few times now from Josh Moore, where he has already proven to be I think the best, most reliable route runner, sort of catch and run receiver on the team. Now, Brennan Eagles can be that, and I think we've seen that more, but I think Moore has been without question, has been the most consistent, most reliable route running receiver. But we've also seen these other plays like this one where he goes up and high points the ball and plays way bigger than he actually is, which to me, that really means that you're getting more out of him than you would expect, right? When a receiver especially is playing bigger than his actual size, that's really cool to see. And he did a great job on that play where he goes up and high points the ball. Even in pretty tight coverage, the Baylor defender was in pretty tight coverage. I just don't think the Baylor guy got turned around to play the ball. And Josh Moore did and caught it. And I think 2 plays later, he kind of drags around the middle and Sam rotates to the left and hits him for the touchdown. So 2 great plays there by Moore on that drive to set up, kind of a long gain by just playing big, high pointing the ball, and then a couple plays later getting the touchdown. And then the 4th play that stood out to me was Baylor's first touchdown. And again, no touchdowns by Baylor until the 4th quarter. So huge win there by the defense. Charlie Brewer is a good quarterback. So and we saw that last year, right? We saw that all season last year. So including a super tight game against Oklahoma that Baylor had. But in this play, I think it was just a great play call by Baylor, especially matching up with what Texas was bringing on defense. Baylor had 2 receivers to the left, and the running back was just going to basically kind of go out into the flats. I wouldn't really call it a wheel route because there wasn't a whole lot of space there. But basically, DeMarvion Overshone was blitzing. The 2 Baylor receivers on the left side essentially took 2 Texas defensive backs out of the play by running sort of routes to the inside, which completely freed up their running back for a wide open touchdown. And if you watch Jawan Mitchell on that play, his assignment was obviously the running back because he's looking at him and mirroring him the whole way. He just didn't have time to get over there. And the way the Baylor receivers were running their routes, Mitchell was essentially trying to weave his way into about 6 bodies, right? It was like 3 Baylor wide receivers, tight end, and then the 3 Texas guys who were in man coverage on them. And Mitchell just had to, had to weave his way through there, and Baylor scored a wide open touchdown. So I just think that play was a case of a really good play call by Baylor, and just kind of a luck matchup that it was a great play call against what Texas called on their play. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are my 4 kind of impact, interesting plays that stood out to me. So definitely drop your comments below. Let me know what you thought of the game. What are you thinking going into the game in Stillwater against the Pokies? Texas has only won 1 of the last 5 against Oklahoma State. Almost all have been incredibly close games. I looked at it today, and the average margin of victory or the average point differential is like 6.5 over the past 5 years against Oklahoma State. But this one is in Stillwater on Halloween. So let me know what you think of that, and don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe, check us out at TexasHornsFans.com. Link in the description. Also a link to our Facebook page where we have nearly 60,000 Longhorns fans on the page. It's an awesome group, but definitely don't forget to drop your comments below. Always love reading them or reply to as many as I can. Always love hearing from you guys. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.